Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the FirstNet Authority Combined Board and Committee meeting. I'm Richard Carrizo, Board Chairman, and it's my privilege to call this meeting to order. Before we get started, though, I want to take a few moments and talk about the devastating wildfires that have recently occurred in Hawaii. Our hearts go out to those communities that were affected and all those first responders that have responded to that area, both from Hawaii and the mainland. Late last week, we did send a team to be an incident support team to Maui to provide on-the-ground support for our federal partners in the communications field. AT&T's Response Operations Group, better known as ROG, also sent personnel on the ground, and they've been there for over 2 weeks. They were there within a day. Again, our hearts go out to the first responders in the community. It's always a reminder of why we come to work each and every day and why we're here for the mission of the FirstNet Authority. We will continue to be here to support our responders as they recover from the wildfires, not only in Hawaii, but as we continue to have wildfires throughout the nation. Now turning back to our board meeting, we're fortunate to be meeting here today in Tacoma, Washington at the Pierce County Readiness Center this week. Thank you to our wonderful hosts, we can't thank them enough, at Camp Murray. This includes the United States Army team and Washington State 911 coordinator team under the Washington Military Department. They helped support this meeting all week. We're fortunate to have most of the board members attending in person, with 2 participating virtually. Thank you to everybody that's joining us in person and by telephone. Before we get started, I want to have a few announcements. The first is that back in June, I appointed Renee Gordon as our new board vice chair. She is also the new committee chair of the board's Governance and Risk Committee. Renee brings true leadership from the 911 community and is an innovator in public safety communications. She presently is the director of the Emergency and Customer Communications Center in Alexandria, Virginia, where she oversees the implementation of FirstNet and helped pioneer remote 911 call-taking capabilities during the pandemic. We're delighted to have Renee in this role and her experience on the board to help us guide the network in our next phase and evolution. Renee, would you like to say a few words before we move on?
Mr. Chair, I would. I'm very honored to have been appointed as the vice chair. Since my appointment, I've had some very rich and encouraging conversations with many in the public safety community. This is an amazing board with a lot of talent. Joe Wassel has been an amazing asset. He came in running. He is an uplift of energy for all of us. And we're doing great things together now, and I'm truly excited about the future of FirstNet. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Renee, and welcome aboard. Also, I'd like to announce the new committee chair for the board's advocacy committee. That is Sylvia Moyer. I know she has very big shoes to fill from the previous committee chair. She was appointed to the Marion County Sheriff's Office as the undersheriff about a year ago and is responsible for leading and managing the day-to-day operations and administration of the organization. We're pleased to have Sylvia leading the advocacy committee and driving our continued engagement with public safety. Thank you, Sylvia, for stepping up. I'd also like to welcome Joe Carlisle to the board. He's the new OMB designee to the board and serves as the Program Associate Director for the General Government Programs. He will serve on the board's Finance and Investment Committee. Do appreciate you being here all week, Joe, and all your participation. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say it's been great kind of diving into the important work that FirstNet does and our important mission. I'm excited to be a part of the board, and I'll yield back.
Great, thank you. And we look forward to working with you into the future. On to today's agenda. Today we'll review the fiscal year 2023 accomplishments and information about fiscal year 2024 priorities from the Executive Director and CEO, Joe Wassel. We'll receive our Finance and Investment Committee report, vote on 1 committee resolution and 1 board resolution related to the year 2024 budget. We'll receive our Public Safety Advisory Committee update from Chris Lumbar. We'll also receive our Advocacy Committee and Programs Future Planning Committee updates, hear reflections on the past 5x5 conference and the Public Safety Innovation Summit. At this time, I'd like to ask our board secretary to call roll and confirm that each person in our committees have a quorum.
All right, I'll mark you as present, Chair Carrizo.
Present.
Renee Gordon.
Present.
Billy Bob Brown Jr.
Present.
Robert Brown,
Present.
Joe Carlo,
Present.
Brian Crawford,
Present.
Alexandra Fernandez Navarro,
Present.
Kristen Graziano,
Present.
Billy Hughes,
Present.
Peter Katujian,
Present.
Warren Mickens,
Present.
Sylvia Moyer,
Present.
Jocelyn Moore,
Present.
Paul Patrick.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum for the board as well as for all 4 committees. Now I will read the conflicts statement. Prior to participating in the FirstNet Authority combined board and committees meeting today, the board members have reviewed the agenda as well as the conflict of interest guidance provided by the Ethics Law and Program Division of the Department of Commerce Office of General Counsel regarding the conflict of interest standards that apply to the board members. All board members have responded prior to today's meeting that they do not have a conflict and will not need to recuse themselves from participation in any portion of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. You all have the minutes in front of you from the May meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to accept these minutes.
Chairman, designated board member Robert Brown, motion.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, a second.
Thank you. All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. All opposed, say nay. Are there any absentees? Therefore, the May meeting minutes are accepted. Madam Secretary, please make the minutes available to the public following this meeting. We're going to start our review of the fiscal year 2023 accomplishments, and then discuss the priorities for fiscal year 2024 from Executive Director and CEO Joe Wassel.
Thank you, Chair Carrizo. Thank you, Board. Thank you, work family of FirstNet Authority and all of our partners. It's great to be here this morning. We have a very serious mission. It's a serious time in our nation, and we take it very seriously. But it's important for us to come together and make sure that we are aligned and leveraged. Every bit of SME and wisdom that we can bring for public safety for the nation and for the future is important. I'm really glad to be here with you this morning and talk about some of the accomplishments, because I think people pick up on the enthusiasm and the energy that we all bring, but at the end of the day, we have to get things done together for public safety. And this is just a short review of that, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you and the public this morning. Next slide, please. We may have had a video. There we go. There you go. I don't know how I'm going to top that. Our comms team does a great job. Our team does a great job, and they do a great job capturing it for public release, which is just terrific. So 34,000 stakeholder engagements, 60 planning engagements. You can see the slides, 425 plus members at our 5x5, our rebranded PSCR session back in June. 3,500 small cell sites distributed for public safety agencies across the nation, the 200 plus visitors to our lab, and 1,300 engagements. So when we talk about doing for public safety, by public safety, we are engaging at the edge every day, all the time, for education, training, and awareness from the .gov perspective. Now this slide comes to us to kind of show what our partner is up to. And quite frankly, it's astounding that we are gaining 3,000 connections on the network every day. 5 million plus connections for public safety in the nation, 200 unique applications, and 99% of the country is covered with Band 14. I will go on and on. You can see that there is momentum. There is an acceptance of the network in public safety across the nation, and we now have a greater responsibility as our network continues to expand into the roles and responsibilities of the National Response Framework and emergency support across the nation. Next slide, please. So that was just a kind of the top of what we were able to accomplish. But as we know, the August board meeting is really to talk about how we're going to spend our money, where we're going to spend our money, and do it very openly, transparently for the nation. Next slide, please. So this is what our focuses are. I think it goes right to our strategic plan. We've got to have a network that is up, ready, and resilient against all hazards, and I want to call out cybersecurity in particular. So we'll be spending money and focus and energy on making sure we've got a strong core, a strong network, a dependable network for public safety. The second aspect is what our customers really want to know and understand is how does this network actually behave within their approach to the science of public safety for the nation. So the connected first responder is a huge priority for us, and it's the one where we really see and hear those anecdotal stories from the edge of what our network is doing for public safety every single day, in their vehicles, in their drones, inside buildings, over water, when wildfires are happening, when wildfires engage and impact beyond rural and into urban areas, all these sorts of things, the connected first responder, and that's really where we want to put a lot of our focus as well. And then ultimately, if it doesn't work in the FirstNet Authority as an organization, it won't work anywhere. We are your 5-day or 7-day-a-week organization that is trying to hold this all together between the board, the PSAC, stakeholders, federal government partners, state, local, territorial, and tribal, all the way from Guam, all the way to the Virgin Islands, and everything in between. The FirstNet Authority has to be aligned. We have to leverage every ounce of intelligence and wisdom that we've got in the organization for public safety, and we're doing that every single day. With every decision we make, we want to be a high-performing organization for public safety and a great example of government service. Next slide, please. So priorities, reauthorization. We will sunset in 2027, and it is important to us. We think it's important for the nation that the authority continue its work with our public-private partner and bringing the .gov leadership, education, training, awareness, and advocacy at the federal level for public safety. We're pushing very hard for reauthorization. We're working with Congress. We're working with NTIA. We're working with the Department of Commerce and our stakeholders at all levels to make sure that Congress understands that forwarding this program is important for the nation, for its wellness, for its resiliency, so that we can be at our best when things are at its worst. So reauthorization is critical, and we're working it every day. We've got a great team over on the Hill and across the country working towards that. 10-year investment. These sustainability payments that come to FirstNet are critical, and how we spend those dollars for public safety matters. I've just talked about our priorities, that we've got to get to a 5G core, and we've got to make sure that the public safety experience for our first responders is second to none across the country and across the world. So the 10-year investment is underway now, and we're working very closely with the board, and we thank you for your partnership and wisdom on this as we decide where every dollar goes to get the most out of those dollars and best value for public safety for the nation. I'm going to pause on culture for a second just to say how important it is that people feel valued and they have interesting and important work every single day at the FirstNet Authority and with our partners all the way across. We want to be an example. We want to be an example of inclusion, equity, and diversity for the federal government and across the nation. It is critically important. I've been in the job for 5 months. My last board meeting was day, 45 or 50. What I realized when I arrived is that we have a strong and proud history at the FirstNet Authority, and I wanted to leave that undisturbed and celebrate it. So I inherited the mission statement, the vision statement, and the core values because I thought they were really good. I thought they were strong. I thought it was something we could be proud of. What I realized what we did not have was a culture statement. And so we gathered the team together and went to Shanksville to be inspired by the example of citizens on Flight 93. 8 weeks later, we went to New York to be inspired by that 9/11 site up there and to work together to develop a culture statement that'll be released very soon as we work through the final stages. So it's not just words. It's important to have the words and hang them on our walls and let people know who we are the minute they walk through our doors, but it's our behavior that matters the most. Words are important, but actions are more important, and we will say the right things and we will do the right things to make sure we've got a culture that ensures that the team is ready to take on the new challenges of public safety in this ever-changing and critical environment that we've been honored to be part of. The last piece, of course, is organizational excellence, and I've already spoken about it. With every decision I make, where I sit in this job is to make sure that we have magnificent people participating together, working together as a team across this incredibly diverse and complex ecosystem of leadership and technology. The nexus of both is where we live. And organizational excellence to make sure that we are high performing all of the time and thinking about public safety with every decision matters. Next slide, please. Mr. Chair, Board, thank you very much for the opportunity to share some ideas and thoughts and where we are. There is momentum in us working together as a team, and I thank you for the time this morning.
Thank you. Lisa, Joe, I want to thank you all on behalf of the whole board and the entire authority team for everything that we've been able to accomplish this last fiscal year. And I know that hopefully we have a little bit more momentum even and can continue this for public safety. So thank you both and entire team that's listening. We appreciate everything you do. At this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to our Finance and Investment Committee Chair, Brian Crawford, to talk about the fiscal year 2024.
Great. Thank you, Chief Carrizo. I first want to take an opportunity to thank the members of the Finance and Investment Committee for their diligent work during the current fiscal year, monitoring and reviewing the FirstNet Authority's fiscal execution, as well as its planning and budget formulation for fiscal year 2024. The FirstNet Authority is more than 3/4 of the way through this fiscal year in 23, and Chief Financial and Administrative Officer Kim Farrington and her accounting and budget team have provided the financial details necessary to track current operations. The Authority, I am happy to say, is on very sound financial footing and is financially well positioned as we approach the next fiscal year. The Authority's financial execution during the current fiscal year has been well within the boundaries of the FY 2023 budget approved by this board. This focus on spending only what's needed to achieve mission goals is forecast to produce an underburned balance at fiscal year end, which will then be available to fund future investments benefiting public safety. The FY 2024 budget provides the operational necessities for confirming contractual deliverables for the National Public Safety Broadband Network, associated public safety engagement program activities, necessary mission support operations, and reinvestment programs activities necessary to achieve the Authority's goals and objectives. And now I'd like Kim to provide a brief fiscal year 2023 financial update and additional details about the fiscal year 2024 budget. Kim?
Thank you, Brian. What you see illustrated here is our fiscal year 23 cumulative budget since the beginning of this fiscal year that started October 1. And these numbers are as of July 31st, 2023. The blue bars on this slide actually provide that illustration of our cumulative obligations of $65 million through the end of July. The blue line represents our cumulative available budget, and the space between the top of the bar and the blue line indicates our actuals are just under budget through 10 months of this fiscal year. The green line at the top indicates our total budget amount for fiscal year 23. Moving to this next slide, this is our budget overview for fiscal year 24, which starts October 1st. The gold bar at the top of this slide represents the forecasted fiscal year 24 total financial resources of $451 million. Below are three blue boxes that are presenting the fiscal year 24 budget allocations for operations, investments, and our reserve. On the left side, our operations budget request is $95 million. And on the right side, you can see that we are requesting a reserve allocation equal to 1 year's operations budget of $95 million. The middle blue box illustrates the remaining balance of $261 million as our budget request for the investments in the National Public Safety Broadband Network. If no questions, I'll now turn this back over to you, Brian, for the Finance and Investment Committee resolution.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Hey, to move forward with the fiscal year 2024 budget allocations, the committee would like to make recommendations to the board as a whole. Through this resolution, the Finance and Investment Committee recommends that the board, 1, authorize the FirstNet Authority to allocate funding for fiscal year 2024 in 3 funding categories. 2, authorizes the board, FirstNet Authority, to enter into the necessary agreements to meet fiscal year 24 strategic objectives. And 3, approve the proposed budget on the obligations basis. Next slide, please. So before we vote, do any Finance and Investment Committee members have any questions about the proposed resolution? Hearing none, we've prepared to vote on Finance and Investment Committee Resolution 33. Madam Secretary, would you please read the operative language?
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Finance and Investment Committee hereby recommends that the FirstNet Authority Board approve the FirstNet Authority's fiscal year 2024 budget of $450,868,617 for the FirstNet Authority operations, operational contingency reserve, and reinvestment in the Network Enhancement Fund. Be it further resolved that the Finance and Investment Committee recommends that the Board approve the fiscal year 2024 FirstNet Authority operations budget of $94,955,109 on an obligations basis, plus with advance notice to the Board up to a 10% management reallocation allowance from the operational contingency reserve in the event of unplanned and extraordinary circumstances, operational contingency reserve allocation of $94,955,109, an amount equal to the FirstNet Authority operations budget for fiscal year 2024, and reinvestment in Network Enhancement Fund allocation of $260,878,400. Should the FirstNet Authority receive any additional sources of income in fiscal year 2024, including fiscal year 2023 reallocations and fee payments, they will be added to the Reinvestment and Network Enhancement Fund.
Thank you, Janelle. May I have a motion to approve Finance and Investment Committee Resolution 33 from a Finance and Investment Committee member?
Mr. Chairman, this is Billy Hughes. I move adoption of said resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
A second, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolution is adopted. Madam Secretary, will you please make the resolution available to the public following this meeting?
Yes, I will.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the committee's business for today. I'll hand the floor back over to you, Chief Carrizo.
Thank you, Brian. As we move forward, we need to now pass the resolution for the fiscal year 2024 motion, Resolution 115. The resolution opens the door for the FirstNet Authority to implement the year 2024 budget. Next slide, please. Before we vote, do any board members have any questions about the proposed resolution? Seeing none, we're prepared to vote for the board resolution 115. Madam Secretary, would you please read the operative language?
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board hereby approves a fiscal year 2024 budget of $450,868,617 for 1, the FirstNet Authority operations, 2, operational contingency fund reserve, and 3, reinvestment and network enhancement fund. Be it further resolved that the board approves allocation of the fiscal year 2024 budget as follows: FirstNet Authority operations budget of $94,995,109 on an obligations basis, plus with advance notice to the board up to a 10% management reallocation allowance from the operational contingency reserve in the event of unplanned and extraordinary circumstances, operational contingency reserve allocation of $94,995,109, an amount equal to the operations budget for fiscal year 2024, and reinvestment and network enhancement fund allocation of $260,878,400 should the FirstNet Authority receive any additional sources of income in fiscal year 2024, including fiscal year 2023 reallocations and fee payments. They will be added to the Reinvestment and Network Enhancement Fund.
Thank you, Janelle. Is there a motion to approve the board resolution 115?
Mr. Chairman, Kristen Graziano, I make a motion to approve Board Resolution 115.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, Board Member Paul Patrick, I second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, are there any absentees? Hearing none, the resolution is adopted. Madam Secretary, will you please make the resolution available for public following this meeting?
Yes, I will.
Great, thank you all. Now we'll hear from our Public Safety Advisory Committee, PSAC Chair, Assistant Chief Chris Lombard. Appreciate you being here, Chris.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's great to see everybody. I'd like to thank the FirstNet Authority and board members for having me today. A big welcome to the state of Washington. We brought the rain in just for you. Want to maintain that reputation. Next slide, please. The PSAC has several accomplishments to highlight this past quarter. Our ongoing webinar series most recently highlighted the authority's government engagement team and the partnership between FirstNet Authority, AT&T, and the FBI CGIS. It's the Criminal Justice Information System Division. The CGIS Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, signed last year, allows subscribers to use their agency credentials to gain prioritized and secure single sign-on access to CGIS services and data. This was a huge accomplishment. I'm glad to see the continued work in the areas of identity credentialing and access management, or ICAM as we refer to it. This is a topic that PSAC has previously worked on and provided feedback to the FirstNet Authority and AT&T. I also wanted to mention the June PSAC in-person meeting and the 5x5 participation. For those of us who attended the combined events, were a pleasure to be a part of, and I'm encouraged with the level of collaboration with the FirstNet Authority and NIST, who convened to hear directly from public safety technology users. We learned from use cases and saw some really neat technology that's on the horizon. Last month, FirstNet Authority pulled together the PSAC for a virtual data gathering sessions regarding coverage prioritization. The PSAC and the associations represented on the committee bring a unique level of diversity with a footprint that spans the nation. So it was nice to hear the different perspectives and the rationale when answering the questions about existing coverage gaps and prioritizing on how to go about filling those gaps. The PSAC's Tribal Working Group, or the TWIG, is also continuing to meet for its monthly teleconferences. We'll be meeting in person in the DC area at the end of October. We are excited to work more closely with the tribal team on the authority side with Jackie Miller-Waring and Jasper Berner, who have participated in several events and meetings across the country engaging with tribal nations. From the FBI Connecting Indian Country event in Miami, Florida, to the National Tribal Emergency Management Council Regional Conference just north of here in Tulalip, Washington. Continued thanks to Jocelyn Moore for stepping in to assist, and support from Paul Patrick as board liaisons to the Tribal Working Group. I also want to thank the members who continue to participate regularly and provide their expertise to the PSAC on its essential work in this area. Next slide, please. The PSAC is going to continue to meet virtually every month, or every other month, for regular updates from the FirstNet Authority engagement teams. Several members have had the opportunity to meet with the authority and go through the Adoption and Technology Survey, which looks at stakeholders' knowledge of and use with FirstNet products and services. This has also been an opportunity to encourage participation in the PSAC and learn opportunities to collaborate with the members' respective associations. I was glad to be part of an event just recently with Washington State Patrol just up the road here in Olympia last month, along with board members Paul Patrick and Warren Mickens. My fellow PSAC colleague, Anton Dam, who represents the Forestry Conservation Communications Association, that's the FCCA. We heard from Washington State Patrol Agency reps, as well as the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board, about their use of data, plans with data, communications needs, which centered around the ability to leverage all communications resources available in a given response, including LMR, their radios, LTE, how to bridge and mix them. We've got to see a feature of their vehicle that brings these communications assets to the field. Warren Mickens, you were there. You want to tell us what you thought of it?
Sure. We were there just 1 month ago, and it was a good reminder for us of why we do this work. They demonstrated for us the opportunity to really make their lives better and more effective as they do their work, where we can improve coverage, where we can standardize their communication systems. I was genuinely in shock at the number of antennas they had on their SUVs. Multiple generations of technology that were not compatible and couldn't work together. We can do a lot of good by cleaning up there. We can provide key services to them and improve their overall effectiveness. So we're looking forward to continuing the dialogue. Thank you.
Paul, how about you? Your thoughts?
Thank you, Chris. I was happy to be there with you and Warren and Anton. Grateful for the opportunity to, and the hospitality shown us by the Washington State Police, and see what they were able to do to try to fill gaps in coverage, and especially with LMR to LTE transition and the data and the way it's starting to work. I was also impressed with the number of vehicles they have ordered to continue to do this and fill areas in their coverage that they need to be able to communicate. So it was very impressive, and I was grateful for the opportunity to be there.
Thank you again to both of you. It means so much to the first responder community to see board members getting out there and really interacting and asking questions, taking a very serious and in-depth interest in our needs, our wants, our concerns. So thank you. Lastly, I want to highlight two specific incidents mentioned on the tribal working group calls. We put these in the category of kind of a job well done from the FirstNet affecting Indian country public safety. In Barrow, Alaska, there was an undersea cable cut which resulted in a temporary outage. A ROG team member was deployed to the field with a mini CRD, 3 Starlink panels, and a 3-cell booster pros. This reestablished connectivity for a community that sits almost as far north as you can get in the U.S. The second example is from the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians. This is actually close to where I grew up in Central Oregon. At the request of public safety, ROG deployed a compact rapid deployable, another CRD, to support public safety in the annual powwow in Tiller, Oregon. During the powwow, there was a motor vehicle accident that caused a forest fire in a nearby community. The increased connectivity at the powwow provided dispatchers the ability to communicate with fire and rescue crews. The CRD remained in place for the duration of this week-long event. We're working the details for the November in-person meeting and look forward to hosting any of you who are able to join us, so please stay tuned on that. Again, a big thank you for all of you coming here to my home state of Washington. We appreciate the opportunity to have hosted you, and look forward to continuing this outstanding work and building this network for all of us. Thank you. Back to you, Chief Carrizo.
No, thank you, Chief, because we do appreciate the hospitality that we've been shown here in your home state, and appreciate you being here today, so thank you very much. At this time, we're going to get our update from our Advocacy Committee Chair, and all joking aside, Sylvia will do a fantastic job, and looking forward to her passion, humor, and dedication to public safety. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chair Carrizo. So becoming the committee chair is an honor, as this committee has a strong and clear line of sight with the efforts and of our first responders, and in connecting with our nation's first responders so they can fulfill their mission every day. I'd like to share some engagement highlights from the third quarter of fiscal year 2023 our recent collaborations with our public safety stakeholders, and recent case study releases. Next slide. This slide really does reflect much of the work that we are doing. As we shared, but must be emphasized, FY23 has been successful in terms of engagement with public safety stakeholders across our country to gather feedback on the network and advance the FirstNet experience. In just this third quarter, our team participated in more than 400 public safety engagements and reached more than 14,000 stakeholders across all 56 states and territories. The team hosted 9 tours in our Boulder facility to demonstrate the FirstNet capabilities. This included our largest tour to date with the statewide interoperability coordinators from across the country and staff from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency of Department of Homeland Security. Next slide. Our Cell Booster Pro example use cases. This is extraordinary because, as our executive director noted previously, more than 3,500 Cell Booster Pros have been distributed to public safety agencies to enhance in-building coverage as a result of the FirstNet Authority's latest investment and as informed by our nation's first responders. Our team conducted a survey and interviews to understand agency experiences with these devices, and this feedback was primarily positive and helped us understand 2 of the primary use cases. I'll give you 2 examples. The first example highlighted on the slide emphasized how the distributed devices address coverage deficiencies, either gaps in macro network or interference given building construction and design, providing now reliable connectivity for a fire station. The second example is a scenario in which an important operational component is in the basement of a police department headquarters building and needs connectivity to support ongoing public safety operations. The Cell Booster Pro is now providing full coverage to support EOC personnel and ongoing operations. This helps them fulfill their mission of safeguarding people. Next slide. A case study release. Another FY23 accomplishment I'd like to touch on in a little bit more detail is in the release of Public Safety, Aviation, and Maritime case study. This team, our team, worked diligently last year and engaged with 20 public safety aviation programs and 12 public safety maritime units to identify key operational challenges, as well as understand the solutions they are using today and how these first responders want to use FirstNet in the future. This effort resulted in the published case study, and it is now available on firstnet.gov. And this presents a thorough picture of the current use of broadband and other communications tools in fixed wing and rotor aircraft, on maritime vessels, and for uncrewed aircraft systems, as well as public safety's future anticipated mission requirements. So, Public Safety, Aviation, and Maritime case study was remarkable, and it is available on firstnet.gov. Next slide. Some key highlights. We are about serving public safety so they serve the people in our nation. Chair Carrizo joined our executive director and senior leadership team in New York City a couple of weeks ago to tour the Public Safety Answering Center 2 in the Bronx. The team was impressed with the innovation and the thought leadership they observed. Alexandra and Joe Carlisle will have an opportunity tomorrow to tour the same facility. Chief Carrizo, before I cue it over to you, I also have to say that folks reported that they were particularly impressed that our board member, Jocelyn Moore, who is a resident of New York State, joined the team on this engagement. They said that made a world of difference to them, and it's reported that this team was particularly inspired that you brought their state representative on this FirstNet board to that engagement, and that she took the time to carve out time to connect with them. But we'd like to hear from you about this visit as well.
Thank you. It was incredible. Had a wonderful opportunity with the leadership team. What nobody knew probably going into the room at the center is that I started my career as a dispatcher. So I was like in a candy shop, even though I don't miss it. But it was a complete amazing facility. They have 2 of them in the city of New York. They answer about 25,000 calls per day. On this particular day of the tour, they had shut down the one center, which they do regularly. We're doing computer updates, so the center we were at was answering every single call for the entire city. And even though we joke occasionally about fire and police, you had 2 centers sitting together, fire and police, 911 being answered in the same room, and everybody sat basically in the same room. It was just an incredible experience, and hopefully you two will have the same experience as I did and just love it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Chair Caruso. This quarter, our team continued to execute the series of FirstNet progress update meetings with the states in conjunction with AT&T to increase transparency with stakeholders and lay the groundwork for future engagements. We completed 15 FPU meetings this year with 8 in quarter 3. There are an additional 22 scheduled through the end of the year, including the state of Washington, or as our chair says, Washington, meeting tomorrow. And the team continues to work to get the rest of the states scheduled. We are in the field with the people. Renee joined the team in Virginia earlier this month, and our board member Jocelyn Moore represented the board at the North Carolina FPU meeting in June, which she said was remarkable. It was attended by Governor Roy Cooper and other state senior leaders. And Jocelyn, did you want to speak and put a finer point on this engagement?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate this opportunity, and congratulations to you as the new leader of this committee. You are already off to a terrific start and look forward to working with you. I'll just echo what you said about New York, which is also the case in North Carolina. When we go to these events as board members, it is such an interesting experience to have the public safety community really rallying around FirstNet, and they do the presentations about all of the good that this network has done. And that was certainly the case in North Carolina. I think we would be hard-pressed to find a better advocate for this network and the work that has been done than Governor Roy Cooper. I did not know, but he was there at the beginning. As the Attorney General of the state of North Carolina, really is a subject matter expert on the technology and can go toe-to-toe with anybody about connectivity, reliability, resilience, and that was evident not only in his remarks, but just his presence there. He stayed for an extended period of time. I have to say, it was like a pep rally in North Carolina. It was rah-rah for FirstNet, not just what we have done in this first 5 years, but what is to come and what will be delivered in the future. And the last thing I'll say, there were representatives from all parts of government, all parts of the public safety and first responder community. There were community leaders outside of public safety. So it was really, like I said, it was like old home week. Even though I live in New York, I'm from Georgia. So it was like a big family reunion and pep rally for FirstNet. So we should be really encouraged and inspired by that. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for not only those remarks, but for carving out time to be there. It means a lot. Moving on, 2 weeks ago, Joe, Renee, and the team attended the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, we call them APCO, at their 2023 annual conference and expo in Nashville, Tennessee. The location provided Joe, Renee, and PSA leadership an opportunity to visit the site of the Christmas Nashville bombing with AT&T personnel to learn more about AT&T's mitigation strategy. From a federal perspective, our team continues to engage with various Department of Defense components. For example, the team continues to participate in bi-weekly broadband meetings with the U.S. Army headquarters components to improve FirstNet broadband infrastructure on Army installations, as well as shape LMR LTE broadband policy within the United States Army. We're going to move to a 5x5 update. And 5x5 had a lot of participants. It was extraordinary. I'd like to do a joint update on this with my esteemed colleague, the enthusiastic and effervescent Jocelyn Moore, Chair of the Programs and Future Planning committee. So this summit was one of the most significant engagements in quarter three, was this summit, the 5x5 Summit in San Diego, California. We successfully co-hosted this event with the National Institute of Standards and Technology's Public Safety Communications Research Division, or simply PSCR, as an evolution of PSCR's annual stakeholder meeting. And I was honored and quite humbled to give the law enforcement keynote address on the second day of this conference, which really shined a light on the humans who serve in public safety and utilize the innovative technologies to safeguard people in this nation and fulfill our missions every single day. So thank you for that honor. Jocelyn?
Absolutely, Sylvia. I think if we look at the photos on this slide, we can see the excitement, the energy, being together in this forum with the public safety community was just terrific. Attendees were engaged, they were connecting, they were educating us and one another on what's next for public safety, including technology innovation. We had some excellent keynote speakers, including our very own Joe and Sylvia, who gave tremendous remarks, as well as Chief Dan Muncy of the San Bernardino County Fire Protection District in California. Several summit attendees shared with our team just how impactful these presentations were. Next slide, please.
And the successes of this are extraordinary. This year we hosted 436 representatives from local, state, and federal governments, public safety, industry, academia, and foreign governments. We were fortunate to have representatives from Finland, France, and Sweden to share their respective experiences as their countries seek to deploy nationwide public safety broadband networks. This summit provided unparalleled access on first responder communications, as well as unique opportunities to foster connections among unlikely collaborators. The summit provided an excellent venue to recognize key contributors to the public safety communications space. And this year, we recognized Chief Harlan R. McEwen. I was moved to actually meet in person. Harlan McEwen, Public Safety Broadband Communications Award winner, Terry Takai, and the inaugural Patriot Award winner, Chief Peter Burke. With this honor, we not only got to meet face-to-face, but we got to honor and recognize Terry for her remarkable leadership and significant contributions to the advancement of broadband communications for public safety. Terry served on the inaugural FirstNet Authority Board, charged with the historic task of building a nationwide public safety broadband network. Having previously served as CIO of the state of Michigan and then CIO of the great state of California, Terry's main role on the board was to represent the state governor's offices, which included the CIO and other executive branch organizations. Terry was CIO of the Department of Defense at this time and also stepped up on the board to be the liaison to federal stakeholders. She's remarkable, and it was an honor to present her that award. The Patriot Award is a new inaugural award presented by the FirstNet Authority to individual first responders or public safety agencies that use FirstNet to make their communities safer. Chief Burke's pioneering use of public safety broadband in Hyannis, Massachusetts exemplifies what we wanted to recognize with this award. He was one of the early adopters of the FirstNet program in Massachusetts, bringing early versions of push-to-talk to his agency well ahead of any other public safety agency within the Commonwealth. Chief Burke participated in the FirstNet Authority's Maritime User Group, helping us understand operations and needs in this environment, and shares agency's successes broadly with public safety and his work to address the needs. His commitment to finding new ways to improving safety of his department's firefighters and the well-being of his community is admirable. And we look forward to future years to recognize public safety leaders for their innovative use and integration of FirstNet into public safety operations.
I would like to briefly touch on the final half day of activities at the 5x5 Summit. We held 12 deep dive sessions on various technology topics and then 4 concurrent scenario-based tabletop exercises to contemplate current operational gaps and identify future communications technology capabilities that are specific to the different phases of an emergency response. And I participated in one of those deep dive sessions, and I have to say, being able to witness real time the exchange of best practice information among public safety officials was quite remarkable. It was exciting to hear how public safety is using FirstNet today and to experience the technology demonstrations about how the innovations available to propel FirstNet and public safety into the future. So overall, we had some great dialogue with our public safety stakeholders that will be used to inform future FirstNet enhancements, and was also helpful for our industry and academia attendees to hear. As Sylvia mentioned earlier, that ongoing feedback loop with public safety is critical to the work that we do here at the Authority. In summary, we were very appreciative of the summit attendees, from the first responders who took time to share their experiences and challenges on panel sessions, to the academics who shared their findings and research at the Tech Demo Showcase. It was wonderful to witness this very impactful convening, and we are looking forward to the future. Next slide, please.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. We have 2 members that were also at that convening, at that summit. I'd like to give the floor to Mayor Billy Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a first-time attendee to 5x5, I just found it to be remarkable. Covered a lot of ground like what you're talking about, but innovation and enthusiasm really are what come to mind as far as what the participants did when they came to it. There was so many emerging technologies that were shown. There was so much information that was shared. These deep dive breakout sessions were really pretty remarkable, seeing the engagement and interaction. So everybody was kind of sharpening their knives for everybody's benefit with the sharing of information and the showcasing of new technologies, what we can expect in the future and what these scientists and inventors and entrepreneurs are doing in the field to make what we do and what we deliver that much better. I thought the interactive side went a little too far when they put VR headsets on us to see what furniture we'd run into. But actually that was informative as well. And then the featured speakers, our keynotes, Sylvia, you really knocked it out. And Joe, that was your introduction to the world in your new capacity. And I thought y'all really brought a great message and made FirstNet Authority look good and really reemphasized just how important our mission is. So it was time well spent, and I came away even more enthusiastic about what we do after having participated.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Sheriff Graziano.
Yeah, so like Mayor Hughes, this was my first time attending, so I really didn't know what to expect. So I went into this thing eyes wide open. The amount of collaboration, innovation, and really the technology development that was on display was super impressive. I really enjoyed the roundtable discussions, Jocelyn, that we participated in, and they included the both public and private sector. When we really took a deep dive into addressing the current and future needs of the responders in the field, and I look at the pictures, that only tells a small snapshot of what was really going on. It was really busy, and when it came to public safety, though, I felt like we were all speaking the same language. Yes, we do speak the same language sometimes, firefighters, police, sometimes, not always, as it relates to keeping folks safe during critical missions. And the roundtable discussions really allowed us to educate and challenge the folks that are the innovators and to let them understand what our needs are and why. And so we had robust discussions. My favorite part, aside from the 2 speakers, which I think were phenomenal, was the discussion on wearable technology, and that really is going to move to promote and enhance our situational awareness in the field during critical incidents through practical application. I thought that was really a great discussion. This technology is still emerging, and it's necessary that we participate in that. I left the 5x5, however, it really just encouraged and energized about the future, the capabilities, not only the technology, but the folks that are engaging in those discussions. And I was really just grateful for the opportunity. And I thank you all for being such great leaders in this field for public safety. As a boots on the ground person, it's really important. And I left there being very moved and energized.
Thank you very much, Sheriff and Mayor. Really, this was an extraordinary opportunity, an extraordinary summit, and hats off to everyone that carved out time and our staff and our team that made it happen. So thank you for your input. And we look forward to sharing details about next year's 5x5 event as they are confirmed. And so now we get to move forward on our agenda with the programs and future planning committee updates. So I turn it over to you, Jocelyn.
Thank you very much, Chair. Always happy to present with you. Always a hard act to follow. So members of the board, greetings. As we enter the next phase of FirstNet's maturity, what Joe has deemed FirstNet 2.0, we are very focused on continued improvements to the existing network to deliver the promise of network coverage, resilience, and reliability, as well as ongoing technological innovations to deliver the network of the future, including 5G. In future board meetings, our committee will brief the board as we normally do, focus specifically on current programs and the roadmap for future planning. But today, we're going to take a bit of a departure from our typical board report on FirstNet by the numbers to focus on some very specific topics. First, the idea of promises made, promises kept. This is something that I learned in my time working for Senator Rockefeller of West Virginia, a lead architect of FirstNet, and that what you say you're going to do, you have to do it. It matters. And we think about North Carolina and all of the engagements that Sylvia alluded to in the 5 years of FirstNet, we are able to say, this is what we said we were going to do, and here's how we delivered on each and every commitment. Second, we're going to talk about how we are leveraging the expertise of our team in partnership with public safety to deliver coverage, resilience, and reliability to some of the most complex geographies, including rural areas, tribal lands, islands like Maui, and the territories. Next slide, please. So, as I was reminded in New York, we don't take a victory lap. This slide is really intended to talk about some of the firsts and the unique characteristics of this network. And so I'll only hit on a few of them, but we should be proud, this board should be proud of the work that each and every one of you has done on behalf of public safety and in partnership and at the leadership of public safety. So that we are the first and only network to operate over dedicated spectrum for public safety. We are the first network built on global standards developed with public safety representation. We are the first to ensure always-on priority and preemption of voice and data for public safety users. We are also a unique public-private partnership that is overseen by this board of leaders in the public and private sector consistently working on behalf of that mission that Joe always underscores for public safety. So there are many firsts listed on this slide. Again, this isn't about taking a victory lap. This is about acknowledging where we are and more importantly, pointing the way toward the future. These are important milestones, but more importantly, they show a continued commitment to meeting the needs of public safety today and into the future. So as we prepare for the next fiscal year, I wanted to share a few of these firsts as we pave the way for a new list of firsts to come. Next slide, please. So secondly, as I indicated, as we think about some of the more complex geographies and FirstNet 2.0, we had quite a unique opportunity earlier this summer. At the invitation of board member Alexandra Fernandez-Navarro, we got to go to Puerto Rico and hear firsthand not only about the unique challenges, but also the unique opportunities. So I want to turn it over to board member Fernandez-Navarro to share some remarks about that experience.
Thank you, Jocelyn. I want to highlight yet again that trips like this one with the participation of FirstNet board members and staff to Puerto Rico are very important as we make decisions about how to better serve first responders in all kinds of settings. In the territory's case, in Puerto Rico's case, an island setting in the next years. Our presence in the different geographies, as our visit to Puerto Rico showed, are very welcome. and it is indispensable in learning about particular emergency needs of jurisdictions that range from their logistics to their priorities, to their resources, to their lack of resources, and in Puerto Rico's case, a real language barrier that must be taken into consideration. As the authority enters its next phase, the knowledge it gathers through these engagements will help deliver an even more comprehensive Band 14 connectivity to first responders in all areas of the United States. I am sincerely thankful to all the staff that made this visit to Puerto Rico possible. I am very grateful to board members Jocelyn Moore and Warren Mickens for being there. And I want to say in my own language, a todos, muchas gracias por ir a Puerto Rico. I think it's very important that we take the chance to see how we can make our mandate work in every topography, geography, served, unserved, underserved, and that's why we're here for. So thank you so much.
Alexandra, thank you for your leadership, and I know that this board looks forward to working with you as we continue to do exactly what you just said in complex topographies and geographies. So thank you. Next slide, please. So we've already covered network connections a little bit, Joe, in his presentation, but I just want to underscore again, in the last quarter, the network grew by another 300,000 plus connections. So that trend line just keeps going up, and we continue delivering for public safety. We have now topped 5 million connections across the nation. Next slide, please. We also saw the number of public safety agencies on the network continue to grow with over 26,000. Again, we've already covered this. This is just another look at the same information. These updates reflect great growth, but more importantly, show public safety's continued trust in this network. We will continue to drive the network forward to make sure it meets their operational needs. Before I close, I want to take a moment of personal privilege, and on behalf of the board, I want to acknowledge Janelle Smith. Janelle, our fantastic board secretary. It takes a special person to be able to deal with this motley crew, and I'm going to count myself first among those and just say, Janelle, thank you for your commitment to all of us, for making this job that we do easier, but more importantly, for your commitment to public safety, because you have served that mission just as much as any of us, and we are grateful to you, we are indebted to you, and we are very happy that you are not leaving us, you are moving to a different part of the organization. You're going to put that law degree to even greater use, and we are excited about continuing this relationship and just very thankful to you for all that you have done. So a note of gratitude and congratulations on all the wonderful things that are happening in your life, but thank you again. So please, let's acknowledge Janelle. So Chair Carrizo, board members, the Programs and Future Planning Committee concludes its remarks for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia, Jocelyn. And again, congratulations to you, Janelle. That does conclude our business for today, but before we end, I'd like to turn it over to CEO Joe Wassel for any last moment comments.
Thanks, Chair Carrizo. Thanks, Board, and to the FirstNet team and the public that may be with us today. Thank you. You can't help but be inspired after getting that kind of rundown. What we just tried to pack into about 40 minutes was really pretty powerful. It has been 5 months in the job. I understand how important trust is, right? I understand how important it is to build it, how easy it is to lose it, and how I need to earn it every single day, not only with the board, not only with the FirstNet Authority, but across public safety in our nation. We have responsibility worldwide, as has been said in some other briefings, that the world is watching, and we are leading the way for public safety. We are the example, we are the beacon of possible and hope for other nations as we travel around. So thank you for being the great state of Washington that invited us in. We're in this great cathedral to the National Guard and Public Safety Partnership here in the state. I think it's incredibly important that we stay aligned as an organization. It's an absolute mandate that we stay aligned, and these gatherings and board of directors meetings are so critical to making sure that we are working together and keeping that momentum for FirstNet 2.0. Jocelyn and I were talking about it this morning. And I just thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you. Again, I look forward to seeing everyone in Nashville and hope everybody has a safe and wonderful next 90 or 100 days till we get together again. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. We're now prepared to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a motion?
Board Member Fernandez Navarro, I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'm Warren Mickens, and I second the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none? Any abstentions? Hearing none? At this time, I want to thank everyone for joining us today in our combined board and committees meeting. And to the audience who joined us over WebNext today, we appreciate you being on, and we consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.